anything.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure. Can you hear me now? I just changed microphones.
Yeah, everything's good on my end.
Good. Very good. Well, it's good to meet you.
Yeah, you too. So I know we didn't talk. I normally when I do these interviews, I like to not really give too much instruction so that we can kind of get the pure and honest truth.
Good.
So,
Good.
But recently I read a survey on Stack Overflow, and it was at like 65,000 developers, and 65% of them said that one of the reasons they chose software was because they wanted to work remotely at some point, which is kind of how I wanted to start this conversation off, because we're going to talk about your social media manager course and how one might work remotely with that. And I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
So would you kind of mind explaining just a little bit about you so people kind of know your background?
Yeah. So, my background going way back is actually in film production. So I had an art school degree, which is pretty worthless if you know anything about the value. I mean, a degree in general, a liberal arts degree is not very valuable, but art school degree is particularly worthless. So I spent, a while trying to figure out what to do because, I didn't get any training in school. And about 5 years ago is when I stumbled into digital marketing. I had, heard about, I didn't know much about the internet or web searches or Google. And I sort of, I think I went to a seminar or something and someone was talking about building a website and selling things on websites. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, there's all this commerce and interaction happening on the web. And I started to teach myself all about building websites and getting traffic to those websites and engaging people on websites. And specifically, actually, I wanted to take my film knowledge and my film passion and somehow monetize that. That was my big dream, because I had seen people selling courses and things like that online. And so in about 2010, 2011, I created a film course called Film School Secrets, where I taught young people how to get into the film industry or make their own films without wasting money on film school. And what happened peripherally is I was all excited, like a lot of people when they start out and they want to make money online, they think, oh, I'm going to make all this money right away. It doesn't work that way. It takes, like anything, it takes a lot of time, a lot of hard work. So I was making, an extra few $100s a month. It wasn't enough to live on. But what happened is, by trying to teach myself how to do this, I taught myself all these skills that were in demand, that I had no idea that employers actually wanted people who could, not necessarily, I wasn't, a developer, but I was learning how to optimize sites for Google organic traffic and do paid traffic and social media traffic for my own product. And then I started searching, for jobs because I wasn't working at the time, and I found an entry-level job at this agency, and I had no experience. I had nothing on my resume that indicated I should be working in this field. I was like, I had the art degree and random office jobs, and I waited tables and done all sorts of other kooky stuff. And I got hired because of my knowledge, because I could actually implement and actually do the job, and because I had these skills. And from that entry-level job 5 or 6 years ago, the career has just expanded and expanded. I went from working at an entry-level position and getting paid, sort of decent wages, but not big money. And then about a year in, I didn't even know this. I didn't know to put up a LinkedIn profile. I put up my LinkedIn profile, and recruiters were on me like, hey, do you want a new job? And my salary went up and up and up. And, the thing I realized is that since the colleges do not teach this skill set is still very in demand. So yeah. I hope I answered your question. I know I could tell you all sorts of things about myself, but I figured I'd tell you
there's like two main things that stood out from that. or 3 or 4, because I tend to agree that an arts degree is pretty stupid as well, but that's like a liberal arts degree in general. But the fact that recruiters were reaching out to you is kind of goes to a similarity between like software and social media. Is there the demand is higher than the supply at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And it from what you said about not really having any relevant experience, but having the relevant skill set, I really like that, because I think that speaks to kind of how software works as well. Is if you actually can do the job, that you can get a job.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what, talking about the course specifically, what was it that, at what point did you kind of say, you know what, I am going to make a course and I can add some value to it for people? Like, what would you say was the moment where you're like kickstarted it and was like, okay, I got to make this course?
Well, I always enjoyed teaching. Ever since I did that film course, I realized that I just love teaching. I love explaining things, and I'm pretty good at it. People seem to enjoy, I like to make things interesting and fun, especially seemingly dry topics like digital marketing. And, most other videos I've seen about digital marketing are very dry, and they're like, welcome to this video where we're going to learn about SEO. No, this is actually, I found it really exciting, and I like to translate that excitement. What happened is that I was working, I basically got what I had wanted forever, which was to be making 6 figures at a job. I was like, I made it. Now my parents are proud of me, all this stuff, and I'm like working a job and I'm doing 9 to 5 and everything. And it was a good job. And then after a few months, because I don't think I was ever designed for that, I started to realize I can't do this for the rest of my life. I need the freedom, So in 2000, I think was it 14, I quit actually two $100,000 jobs, one within 3 months of each other, because I had left one for the other, which happens in this business a lot. And you don't make that much initially. This is after years of experience. But what happened is I was sitting here, and as I was trying to work on other projects and things, I kept getting recruiters kept reaching out to me, and I'm sitting here thinking, I don't want a job, but there's so many jobs and so many people that need jobs, and they don't know about these jobs. So I was like, well, this is a waste. This sucks. I talked to my friends in the business too. We'd all kind of laugh. We'd be like, this is like insane. Everyone on the news is saying, oh, the economy stinks and there's no jobs. I'm like, dude, there's thousands of jobs here. And just because the schools are so out of touch, nobody knows about it. And I have that kind of like rebel thing where I'm like, oh, I want to go against the system and teach things that people don't know. So, I thought to myself, I know if I put together a course where I give them just the same basics that I learned, and I teach them how to speak the language, they will be able to get into these jobs. And even if as I say to my students, even if the job posting says you need 2 to 3 years experience, that's BS. It's like, I say it's like on a dating profile when someone's like, I want a man who's 6'4" and built like a, built
fucking
like a
unicorn.
Body, but also sensitive. What's that?
It's like they're looking for a fucking unicorn. Like, it's not gonna happen.
They are. Like I was traveling, and I ended up in Tennessee. I was in the middle of Tennessee. I'm in Nashville in a suburb, right? And I just I went there, I looked at Craigslist and I saw a posting, and I ended up getting a client this way, right? But here's what was funny is they said, we want a digital media manager who's got 5 years experience. And I just said, you ain't finding anyone in this area that's got 1 year experience, much less 5 years experience. So I was like, I got this. And I did. I got the job, or I got the contract. And I'm like, so anyway, that inspired me to make the course, and then, I think we started doing it back in April of last year is when I started to, I talked to Matt Tran about it, and we did an interview. And since then, it's just been awesome because people have actually come into the course, followed my instructions, and they are getting jobs.
I see all the time on Engineered Truth's Facebook pages. He'll be posting like emails that you guys get talking about their success stories and like how they can now, like one girl I read, she wanted to work remotely, took her course, and now can go live with like her boyfriend in Texas. And so it seems like there's a lot of success going on with this.
Yeah. I mean, when I started the course, I just knew that I knew it would work. I just had, but it was still theory. And then, you know, people are actually applying it, and it's true. It's still true. The agencies and the companies have, as you said, there's a higher demand than there is supply of people. And that changes the dynamic so much, because most college graduates who come out without any skill sets are, now it's the reverse. There's a flood of supply. There's 1 million college graduates who are just completely, they can't offer any value to these companies because they have no practical skills, no practical experience, not even the aptitude in many cases, because they've been in school for so long. They don't know how to function in a workplace. So just by reorienting people and teaching them, you know, sometimes it's really simple, because I have to teach people, listen, don't, you know, on your resume, don't talk about your school and your education and shit, you know. When I moved to LA, I remember a temp agency person was the first person that said to me, take your education and put it at the bottom. And that was mind-blowing to me, because I was like, well, I went to college. Shouldn't that be at the top? No, put it at the bottom, because an employer needs you to help them. And they do that by seeing, what skills do you have? How can I plug you into my company? And just by making that shift and giving them these skills, you know, then what's exciting to me is, you know, at the very least, I think it's funny. I get a lot of students, like so many of them get interviews and many of them get jobs. But there are people who are in the course who have come out of college and they couldn't even get an interview. And now they're like, I got 5 interviews, you know, and they're not going to get every job, you know, but to even get an interview after learning a skill set like this is just remarkable. And it excites me.
I like that. I did a little bit of social media way back in the day when I was looking for freelance work. And I found that, especially for the entry-level contracts, sometimes they go hand in hand quite well. Like you'll have someone who wants you to maintain their website and at the same time kind of manage their social media accounts on the website and out of the website. So like I've always been very kind of love-hate relationship with it, but I like the fact that they can kind of overlap as well. And I think that having skill sets in both will make you a much more interesting candidate down the road.
Well, let me speak to that for a second, just to clarify something. So there's a distinction between social media, paid search, paid social search, organic search. It's all under the umbrella of digital marketing. So social media marketing is the way that a lot of companies are set up. Some of them do sort of try to mesh the two. And I think you're right. If you are a programmer and you understand basic Facebook, you know, management, that definitely can be a bonus. But what I focus on in the course is actually not social media. That is definitely part of it. But the skill set that is the most in demand is for AdWords. It's for paid search. So, and the reason being is that if you know anything about Google, like most people don't realize, you know, say, how does Google make all their money? It's all through ads. No matter how virtuous they are or how giant they are, it's all through these clicks. And most people don't even, they think, I never click on these ads. When you do a search, do. And every time someone clicks on an ad, someone pays for that click. And those companies hire people to manage that advertising because it's very powerful and very precise. It's also very different than social media, because social media, while very effective in its own way, you're trying to interrupt somebody. You know, you're on Facebook and, you know, and then you see an ad, or maybe you see someone else's page pop up. The person is not looking for a service. But on Google search, the reason it's so massive is because if someone's typing in, I want to buy a new pair of sneakers, that's a buyer, you know, and you can actually. So I don't mean to geek out on this too much. My point is, social media is just one aspect of digital marketing, and it's actually, from a salary standpoint, is actually not the highest paying one, or the one that most of my students are not being hired for. You know, some of them, a few of them have been hired for social media, but if they are, it's social media as far as paid advertising, because Facebook ads are also very important, but Google and paid AdWords advertising and SEO, which is the search engine optimization, helping a person's website rank higher, is what the course focuses on. And there are some companies who will try to like say web development and SEO should go hand in hand. And those clients, I would say that's a red flag, because if you're a developer, do SEO as well. They're two separate skill sets, and they're both should pay a lot. So some people like try to get something for nothing. I think it's important to distinguish that, because you want to make sure you're being paid what you're worth. And so someone's like, yeah, build our website and do our SEO. Like, well, those are two totally separate things.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because it reminds me of my internship, where I had an internship, and like the first 3 weeks they were having me doing SEO, and they were charging big money for it. I had no idea what I was doing, and they basically just said, yeah, figure it out. And so I could totally see how companies would just take advantage of you in a web design setting like that.
Yeah, listen, digital marketing is like the Wild West, and it still is. It's insane to me. I have worked at companies. I was hired in-house at a drug rehab center a few years ago. And that's one of the most competitive marketplaces you can even imagine. People pay $30, $40, $50 per click. So that means that if you Google like drug rehab centers, or if you Google DUI attorney, right, and you click on one of those ads, someone is going to pay like $50, $100 for that click, which is just kind of insane, right? So that company that I was working for, they had an SEO company that they were paying, I don't know if I should say it, but it was, let's just say it's more than most people's salaries for a year per month. They were paying an obscene amount of money for SEO. And that, it's a very very wild market. Cause if you're going to sell a car or, a TV, you're going to have kind of a price range, between this amount and that amount, but SEO prices can range. And that's also where a lot of the opportunity is, because companies, they will outsource, or let's say, hey, let's try to do this really cheap. And then they'll realize that nowadays it's really, Google cares about quality. So what I teach my students to do is, how do you deliver quality to your clients in such a way that they actually want, feel good about paying you the right amount of money?
Now, in the course, you cover ways to kind of maybe like how to get the position to be a remote position, or do you cover like how to land the job, not only the skill set, more like, because talking with you, you seem like a very practical guy, and I like that about you. So I imagine you would cover some of the more practical skills that, like, yeah, we're going to teach you the knowledge set, but let me teach you about these sort of soft skills that you need to actually land the job.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I feel weird to toot my own horn on this, but I am a consumer of courses myself, and I always would look to see what's missing. So that's why, this course is like 11 hours of training. It's very in depth, because I didn't want to leave people being like, I hate it when you buy something or a course and it's like, hey, this is they give you a concept or a dream, and then they don't give you the actual steps to realize it. So a big chunk of the course is actually how to get the job, which is something I haven't seen in any other course on digital marketing, because and that's one of the things I tell people is that don't blow thousands of dollars learning deep analytics, learning in, deep digital marketing skills in a theoretical online course, because then you have to go to the agency and they're going to be like, what have you actually worked on? And then they're going to put you into in a role where that theory is just not going to be applicable, because you're going to be learning more on the job. So yes, the soft skills, as you put it. And it's funny, I just saw an article where it was saying education is actually at the bottom of the soft skills. It's things like communication, but I actually, in the course, I show you how to set up your resume. And it's funny because a lot of students follow my instructions and some completely don't listen, and then they'll show me their resume and I'm like, dude, use the template. That's what it's there for. This is how you should actually take your skills and turn them into a resume and what you should say to the employer to get the interview. And then when you're in the interview, here's the types of things you should talk about in the interview. Now, you asked about remote positions. So I started out, the intention of this course was to help people get day jobs, you know, because I said, listen, I'm not a day job guy, but I've worked day jobs and I know a lot of people want them. So the bulk of the course is you know, with, like I said, about how to get the interview, how to land a position, companies and things like that. And I sort of he said, there are remote positions, you know. I got offered a position about 2 years ago that kind of blew my mind, where it was like a 75K position, completely remote, you know, and I was just like, really? I was like, yeah, well, why not? I mean, you're working on your computer. Why do you have to be in an office? But those positions are not as common. But what happened is that my students would come in and some of them started getting remote jobs. And then other people were asking about freelancing, like you talk about with software. So I created another module to talk about freelancing, getting your own clients, and finding remote work. And the cool thing about the skills is that there's just a lot you can do with it. You know, as I said, I learned these things accidentally, and then I realized I could get a day job. I've done contract work. I've worked remotely. I've come in and consulted with a company for a couple hours and been paid for that, you know. There's just a lot you can do once you have the skills. And then everybody has their own, you know, some people want that 9-to-5 job and they love it. Some people want to pick up freelance clients. You know, but there's just, it gives you a power that most students don't have to actually make choices about what you're doing instead of being stuck and just, oh, I have to work at this crappy job, you know.
To me, it's about the skill set of being able to potentially work remote, right? So like I would love to work remote, but I'm also at a junior level in my career. But maybe with a few years experience where you have a proven track record, you know, 2-3 years down the road, a company may consider, you know what, this guy, his resume is good, his experience is good, we can let him work remote half the time or all the time. But the fact that you have a skill set that you can work, that you could potentially make that argument is what I like about digital marketing and AdWords and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also, I mean, it's a very, you don't, unless you're working at an agency, or if you've been hired by a company in-house, they're like, hey, we want you to be our digital marketing person, come to the office 5 hours a week. You know, there's no practical reason to work in an office, you know, because your job is all on the computer. But the other thing about the job that I talk about is the quality of life, work-life balance. Even if you do get a day job in this field, it's very different than other fields because the culture is very young. It's a very sort of, I hate this word, but holistic, because if you go to almost any agency website, they will actually sort of brag about their culture, which is something I don't think that you really see in like a lot of other fields. They'll talk about a lot of companies have like flex days or days off, or like, you know, ping pong tables, or just like stuff to make the job cool.
Feel less like a job.
Yeah. I was working part-time at this company called Dex, and I remember it was my first experience of just, it was a lot of cool people, ping pong table, catered lunch, pool table. I think it was hilarious. I used to play ping pong twice a day. It made a real difference just in how I felt coming to the office, you know? But yeah, so it's like, it works both ways. And then of course, yeah, if you want to work remotely, you know, it's possible. Freelancing is just, you know, and you could freelance too, you know. It's like, you don't, you know, I inadvertently got WordPress development jobs by talking to people, because people always ask, you know, what do you do? And I'd be like, oh, I work on web, you know, I do digital marketing. They'd be like, well, I need a website. And I'd be like, well, I know how to, you know, I know how to do a theme forest install of a WordPress theme. And the people, you know, most people are just like, what? They don't understand it. And then you can do it for them and they're happy and you're happy, you know?
If anybody has any questions for Seth, go ahead and type them in the chat now. Was there anything that you wanted to make sure that we covered?
No, I think I probably talked enough. So if you know, I'd like to see where the audience is and see what their questions are. And if you have any more questions, let me know.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm a talker, so.
Oh, it's good. I like some people, and it's funny that you mentioned about like people not necessarily following the advice with the resume, because sometimes people only want to hear what they want to hear, and I feel like you can't help those students sometimes. Like they're just gonna, I know what's right, and I'm gonna do it my way and prove this guy wrong. Wow, because I do like mentoring sessions myself, and like people will keep asking the same questions until you give them the answer they want. It's like, is this boot camp a good program? And I'll tell them why. Whoa, what about this? And so it kind of reminded me of that.
It's you know, I've been very fortunate that my students have been, you know, the program is really inexpensive, especially compared to other programs. And if you have a link, you know, I do the free course too, that I teach people more about the jobs and the skills and stuff. And there's always a risk when you do that, that you're going to get kind of bad. If you don't charge enough money for something that is valuable, you can risk getting people who are going to be like bad customers and bad students. And my students have been amazing. They are passionate, they are driven, they are smart. You know, anytime anyone gives me, if I hear anyone talk about millennials, like, oh, they're lazy or entitled or some bullshit, I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, that's a generalization. These kids have so much passion, and they just, you know, the thing is, like, they've been taught so much crap for so many years, just like I was and you were. Mm-hmm. Like, when they actually tune into something that's like good, they are totally lit up. So most of them, I just have to kind of gently remind them, hey, go back and, you know, just say, watch this video. I'm not going to re-explain everything to you. And most of them follow the instructions. I've only had, in hundreds of students, I've only had a couple of sort of belligerent know-it-alls. and yeah, but you're right. That's definitely a possibility that can happen when you're trying to teach people.
So one really good question we got on here is, when looking for work through, you know, what would be some good sites? And when typing in job titles to search by, you know, would digital marketer, would be social media manager, AdWords, what would be the sites to use from your experience, and what would be the titles for the search engine to kind of try and find jobs?
Sure. And in fact, if you go to my channel, you see I do these searches sometimes. I do videos where I actually do a live search for these things. So first you can just type in, so LinkedIn is like #1 for me. LinkedIn, and type in digital marketing as the search term and do it anywhere. And you'll see a lot of results. You can also type in the term PPC, which stands for pay-per-click, SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, and you can also do social media manager. You also, Indeed, actually, it's funny because when I started out, I always kind of was like, Indeed is kind of a, you know, crap site, but it's mind-blowing to me. I remember I did a search, I did a video just recently I think it was in Kansas City, you know, Kansas City, Missouri, like not the hub of, you know, it's not Silicon Valley. A lot of jobs there, and a lot of them are listed on Indeed. Those are the two big ones. And the other thing I encourage people to do is to do a Google search for digital marketing agency in your area. And you'll be surprised. Again, I mean, a lot of the, you know, if you live in a really rural area, you're probably not going to find too much. But even, you know, looking at like Columbus, Ohio, Kansas City, Louisville, these smaller cities, some of them have 5, 6, 7 agencies. And those agencies, sometimes, a lot of the times, as you'll see in some of my videos, I do these live videos where I'll do a search, and sometimes I haven't even like researched what I'm going to search for. It's live, and I just will be like excited because I'll be like a careers page. And usually these agencies will have a page where they'll even say, if we don't have a job opening, send us your resume. Because especially if you're in one of these cities, that's why, like, I have a student who's in Overland Park, or it's some city in Kansas. Gabriel's his name. And, you know, he's working at an agency in Kansas, and he had no experience. He was a landscaper for 10 years. And he came in with what I taught him, and it was like, it's because you're in the middle of Kansas. Like, there's not 100 people with AdWords and SEO skill sets that are vying for these jobs. But those are the terms. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, and so if people want to follow up with you, I know I do. Just talking with you, you seem like pretty smart and practical. I like practical people, and so where can people follow you?
I mean, you can put a link to my YouTube page. Is it's YouTube/Seth Jared, SETHJARED. But the best way, if you're interested in all this stuff, go to the website. You know, if you have a link, you can click that. It's indemandcareer.com. That's the best way to reach me. It takes you into the free course where I give you a lot more information, and then you're on my email list, and I send out a lot of emails, and you can just reply to those emails. And then I think from there, I give you my LinkedIn profile link. And you can include that in the video too if you want.
Cool. Perfect. Well, thank you. I learned a lot, and I'm glad to see that someone's actually talking to people and trying to explain to them that, I get that you can pass a test, but let's teach you some practical skills for the workforce.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right. All right. Thank you again, and we'll have to do it again soon.
Sounds good, man. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. So that was our interview with Seth. I had a great time talking with him. I really liked his we kind of have some similar beliefs and similar personality traits to a degree. But I really like that he's teaching a skill set that can help people get a job without a degree, for one, because it's so in demand. Digital marketing, social media, AdWords, all these things that every company that's trying to sell something in the digital age needs. And that he's had a lot of success, and seeing all these, we talked about it briefly about the success the students have had as showing up in, these letters that Matt gets, or Engineer Truth. And, he shares a lot more with me that people don't even see in the Facebook group. But if you're interested in the course, the link is on the screen or in the description or in a card. It'll be all over the place. But I highly encourage you to check it out if that's something you're interested in. It's just another great job that you can have while still working remote and making a decent income. You heard Seth, after several years of experience, he was able to get incomes in the six figures range. And I've seen graduates for the program get hired on the low end at like 35, 40K, on the high end like 65K if you're really impressive. So it just depends on the individual and the area. But I encourage you to check it out. And as always, guys, if you like this video and want to support the channel, you can at patreon.com/codingtutorials360. And if you aren't already, you should join our Facebook group, Code Tech and Caffeine. The link is in the description below. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Keep being motivated, keep working hard, and whether you're interested in digital marketing, software, whatever it is, just work on those hard skill sets, and I think your life will be better for it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next video. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you're interested in coding bootcamp, check out devmountain.com, where housing is included in your price of tuition. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.